What's up guys, Filterless here. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the MSI Claw. I want to give y'all some of the things I like as well as some of the things that I think might be a serious con for this device, just in case you're looking at this and you're interested in it. I think there are some important things to note which we're going to cover in this video. And if we scroll down a little ways, you can see we have Windows 11 Home and it's running this Intel Core Ultra 7 processor 155H. And it looks like it's going to come in 3 different configurations starting at $700, which gets you this Core Ultra 5 135H processor for $749, so $50 extra. You get that processor bumped up, but the RAM and the NVMe storage stay the same. Then for $800, it's bumping the storage from 512 to 1 terabyte. And I pulled these screenshots from nanoreview.net for both of these processors. You can see here we have 155H on the left and 135H on the right, and it looks like we're losing 2 performance cores on that 135H processor. And what this translates to in Geekbench is basically around 12% faster on that 155H for the multi-core score, and that is specifically just the CPU. Here we can see the iGPU, and it looks like we're losing 1 core on the 135H, and it doesn't look like it's a huge performance difference, but around 17%, and this will also depend on how they tune it on the MSI Claw, so this could vary. I would imagine it's very similar to the laptops, but we'll have to wait and see. And for the ergonomic design, I actually do think this looks really comfortable, and I've seen videos of people holding it, and it looks like it's an in-between of the Ally and the Steam Deck. And for me, the Ally doesn't have a whole lot of area to grip, which does make it slightly uncomfortable to me personally. I actually like the Steam Deck a bit more for the ergonomics, so this looks like it will be pretty nice and comfortable. The battery life is a 53 watt-hour battery, which we'll get into here in a minute. And the design looks extremely similar to another device, including pretty much the exact same button placement, speaker placement, joystick placement, D-pad placement, and just about everything else. Even the screen size and specifically the bigger black bars at the top and sides looks identical to the Ally, and the tailored software looks extremely familiar, with the button placement to in-task, keyboard, everything else having a quick command center like interface that opens up. One thing that is neat from these screenshots though is it looks like all the system updates are going to be in one place, so that's kind of nice to just have it all on one piece of software. We even have the control mode, so we have gamepad mode and desktop mode. I have seen desktop mode running. It basically just turns it into a cursor like we see on the Ally. And onto one of the biggest cons, and I think it's going to be this Intel processor that it's running. If you've ever owned similar gaming laptops and one is running Intel, the other one's running AMD, usually the watt draw, the temperatures, and the fan noise is quite a bit louder on the Intel. That's just how the chips run. And I want to give a shout out to NL Tech. He did a benchmark on an Asus laptop that is running this Intel Core Ultra 7 processor. And here when he's running it in performance mode, it's pulling around 28, 29 watts. It kind of varies quite a bit. Then when you switch it to whisper mode, if you look at the wattage on a laptop, it is actually throttling. So it's going down drastically and then kind of spiking back up. And right here, if we pay attention, it's going to dip down to like 12 watts for a second. There we go. 12, then all the way up to 19. It's just fluctuating way too much. Look at that, 12. You can see the stuttering even in the game as he's playing, and it went all the way down to 9 watts. Now this could just be that the drivers need to be updated and there needs to be more stability, but speaking on previous experience with Intel laptops, throttling has been a thing in my experience, especially on thinner devices. Now the MSI is going to have dual fans, should have decent cooling. And something else that's important about it having the Intel Arc integrated graphics is driver compatibility. That could be a big deal in some games, even AMD versus Nvidia. I found Nvidia is more compatible in older games and just seems to work better across the board than even AMD, which is pretty well established. So it's definitely something to consider about having an Intel iGPU. There might be some games you run into where it just doesn't really work that well, and it'll probably take them a little while to get up to the level that AMD and Nvidia are at. And it's a 53 watt-hour battery. And the thing I want to focus on is just the statements made here. It says unlock the exceptional gaming endurance with our breakthrough battery capacity. Keep in mind, this is only 3 watt hours bigger than the Legion Go and the Steam Deck OLED. And then power that lasts 50% longer. These kind of statements bother me a bit because it's 50% longer than what? This is something that just looks good, but it's really not saying a whole lot. Then if we scroll down a little bit, we see day to night right below where they list the battery life lasting a long time. And to someone that's just viewing this makes it seem like it's going to last a really long time, like get you through the day almost. And I know for a fact that's not going to be the case. I would say it's going to be very close to the 7840U handhelds and probably in between the Ally and the Legion Go in battery life. I do not think it's going to beat the Legion Go with its bigger battery and AMD chipset. I could be wrong. And I just feel like this type of marketing is a bit deceptive for people that are scrolling through and seeing this. And that leads us right on to the 120 hertz display, which is the same as the Ally. And I thought it might have VRR, but whenever you see something like this where it says 7-inch smoothness ready, that means it's probably not going to have VRR. And one last little thing, credit to PC World. I took this screenshot from one of their videos just to show y'all the anti-reflectivity. I think it might be the exact same coating as the Ally, which is a really good coating. If you look at the limited edition anti-glare screen on the Steam Deck back here, you can see that actually shows quite a bit more reflections than you get on the Ally. And it looks like the MSI Claw is using pretty much the exact same coating, which is a great thing because it works really well on the Ally. And we have Thunderbolt 4, which is a big deal. I wish Asus would have done that instead of using their proprietary connection. While the proprietary connection can do a lot of bandwidth to something like the XG Mobile, I feel like they should have still allowed us to use Thunderbolt 4, so that's really neat to see here. We have two 2-watt front-firing speakers that have a high-res audio certificate. I'd imagine they probably will sound pretty good. I don't know compared to the Ally until it's hands-on and someone's actually doing a sound test. One small thing I wanted to touch on is I do think the RGB behind the buttons is kind of cool, just having a little bit of extra RGB. And I like the black finish in the way it looks. I think it does look pretty clean. On the back of the device, very similar to the Ally, you can see we have the M1, M2 button. It would have been nice if they put 4 buttons. This was a great opportunity to actually add 4 buttons like we have on the Steam Deck. I think it's just a little more useful. At the top, we have a fingerprint power button, the micro SD card reader, and what's strange is it's right next to that VIN again. Now, I don't think there's going to be failures like we saw on the Ally because I'm pretty sure it was the VRMs on the Ally that caused issues. However, it is right next to that vent. Then we have the Thunderbolt 4 port right here. We have the audio jack over here, and then the volume buttons. Then on the front, we have the view button right here, really similar to the Ally, and the menu button over here with the quick settings being on the right. So that would essentially be what we see in Armory Crate for the command center. So these buttons were swapped pretty much. This should be the main software, and then this is that quick access menu. And the other thing that's neat is it is Hall effect triggers and joysticks. So it should give very accurate precision, and you shouldn't get any stick drift. So that's really neat to see. And one of the killer features, I think, is Wi-Fi 7. That is awesome to see. Not so much for the crazy bandwidth throughput, unless you're going to have that level of internet, but I think what matters more is the lower latency that it offers. So if you have a Wi-Fi 7 capable router, and let's say you have your main rig plugged in with an Ethernet cable, and then you have this connected over Wi-Fi, it should allow you to stream where it feels like it's almost native, like you're playing on your gaming rig. So that could be important for some people, and I think that's an awesome thing to have on this device. And I'll probably get some comments that don't agree with what I said in this video, but I have no horse in this race. I hope the Claw is a beast, gets great battery life, has good thermals, and good performance. I just don't think that's going to be the case with the internals it has. And if you're looking at getting the Claw, I definitely wait for hands-on from other reviewers so you can see real-world performance against other handhelds and make the best decision for you. I think we're kind of stuck in this first generation of mainstream handhelds where they're still trying to figure things out. And instead of cramming laptop CPUs into them, I hope we see custom chips made specifically for handhelds like we see with the Steam Deck. Then we'd be able to get better battery life and possibly even better performance at the same time with the advancement in tech. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.